Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Painless Universal Conversation with myself and Welsh. We'll be talking today about the power of the mind. The mind causes so much pain, at the same time, it brings you so much joy. Depends on what side of the coin you decide to toss. The mind also has a way of interfering with our personal happiness, or often causing stress and doubt. Getting in touch with one's inner source of peace, following its guidance over the mind, requires lots of training and discipline. Knowing these truths, Peaceful Mind, Peaceful Life founder Barb Schimidt developed a three-part spiritual discipline called the practice. The practice is a toolkit to be used throughout the day to guide people who are looking for confidence, less stress, and deeper meaning along life's path. She'll be talking to us about how we can gain control on on our mind challenges. She's a meditator teacher, an author, mindfulness activist, and the co-founder of Peaceful Mind, Peaceful Life. She's been doing this for over 35 years after going through her own journey during her teens and her 20s, which saw her check into rehab, and she found her own self there through various treatments she had to go through. I'm so excited to talk to Barb about her own journey and how we can learn to control our own mind to navigate our thoughts to places of happiness. The Peaceful Mind, Peaceful Life has gained over 8 million followers worldwide, inspiring people to love who they are and encourage people to live the life of their dreams. I am glad that you will have the opportunity today to share with me this wonderful conversation with Barb as we share her deep story. And I hope from listening to this conversation, you will be able to control your mind and find things that makes you truly happy to be here on this planet. Meet my special guest, Barb. So, hello guys, and welcome again to Painless Universal Conversation with myself and Welsh. As I said in my introduction, today's conversation is really dealing about around how the power of our mind. The pandemic has caused so much pain. It's left people questioning, how do I deal with all these difficult challenges, this pain this has caused me, losing your job, losing a loved one, and how do I deal with my mind and still find my joy? My guest today, I'm so excited to have her. She's an author. She's so many things. She mostly talks about her spiritual healing and a toolbox that will help us all in going through this. Barb, how are you?
I'm really well, Anne. Thank you. It's a joy to be here with you today.
It's amazing to be with you as well. I mean, anyone who reads your book, the toolbox, I call it. Everyone might call it whatever, but I call it the toolbox because it really gives you step-by-step guides on how to get through your journey, how to meditate, how to find your inner peace. Just truly amazing. Before we get into all of that, Rob, can you tell us a little bit about who are you?
Yes. Yes, I would love to. My name is Barb Schmidt, and I have been practicing meditation and mindfulness for over 37 years. And so my childhood was very traumatic, very unpredictable. Both of my parents suffered from alcoholism, and we didn't have any money. I was the oldest of five. So it was very much a struggle. And I remember as a little girl saying to myself, this is not going to be my life. I'm either going to be a queen, and I was raised in the Catholic tradition, or a nun. So I had it in my mind as a very young age that we can actually determine the life that we choose to have, that we're not at the mercy of the outside world. So lots of trauma, lots of things happening. We didn't have money, so I didn't end up going to university. So I ended up working at McDonald's in high school. I lived in the Chicago area, and that's where McDonald's really originated, in that area. So this was back in the 70s. And it was the way that you could do it back then. And so I worked my way up. And ultimately, before the age of 23, I was owning my own McDonald's restaurant. So
Uh,
I had achieved everything that I thought, would make me happy,
Yeah.
would give me status or give me whatever I needed to be able to be comfortable and not be always so frantic and always so worried and scared and all of the things.
Yeah.
So I just kept doing that and ended up owning 6 McDonald's restaurants. But in the midst of those years, I developed the eating disorder of bulimia. And so, if anyone listening is familiar with bulimia, it's really all about shutting down yourself on the inside. And the only thing that matters is what's on the outside. How do I look? How do people perceive me? People pleasing. And if I can just keep on going and accomplishing and getting, then eventually I'll get to the happiness. And so, obviously that does not work. So in 1984, checked myself into treatment for bulimia and stayed there for 6 weeks, and it changed my life. I owe everything to I think the will and having a sense of that I do have control over my own life. It's just a matter of what decisions will I make in every moment. So I heard a voice when I woke up that morning in 1984: if you don't get help, you are going to die. And I was 28 years old, so I was still relatively young. So I
Yeah.
thought, I'm going to die and that's not going to happen to me. So in 1984, learning meditation and mindfulness, it's such an age here, especially in the United States, that it was not really a big deal. No one really heard of mindfulness for sure. And meditation, they thought you were a little wacky. Oh, you're practicing that weird thing from the East, so I'm very grateful that that treatment center had the mindset to not only look at the 12 steps of
Yeah.
AA for treating it. So
Yeah, no,
that's
because Barb, you saying that actually one of the thing, your key messages is like, um, I always wondered every time I see a meditation teacher, I always think to myself, how did they get into it? What led them on that path? Because it is a difficult thing to choose. It is a difficult path. So would you say, if if I ask, how did you get on that path to, because you've been on this journey for almost 25 years or 30 years now, how did you get on this path?
So they taught meditation, mindfulness, yoga, and then lots and lots of therapy and treatment. And as I started to uncover all of the traumas and all of the things that were locked inside of me, it was through that practice of being able, not only therapy, of course, uncovering all of that and the shame and the guilt and all of the things, but it was through that practice of sitting with myself. And it was torture. I mean, it really was torture to sit with yourself in silence, even for 5 minutes, even for 1 minute, but even for 5 minutes. That's why my book is the practice. It's a practice. So every day it got a little bit more bearable, a little bit more doable. And I think the greatest blessing that I learned though was what is meditation actually, because I think it has so many myths about the whole idea of what meditation is for and how to do it. So that's what led it. So when I got out of treatment, I knew that if I didn't stay in recovery for my bulimia, that I would die. So meditation was the key for me. And so I studied with many, many, many teachers around the world, went on lots of retreats and reading. And oh my gosh, it's been a very active 37 years of study.
Yeah, I think that's one of it as well, and I think also your own personal experience, because the way you write about it in your book, The Practice, you talk about the ritual, the using of different exercises, meditation, and inspirational. You just don't say, okay, it's just going overnight. You're going to get this massive calling you're looking for. You say there's a deep way. There are methods of doing it. Why did you decide to think and write it and from that perspective, like utilizing toolboxes to guide people in a better way?
Well, in my experience and studying with so many different teachers, going on so many retreats and trying all different forms of meditation and what worked for me, what I discovered along the way is that what matters most is forming a relationship with myself, understanding the thoughts that I'm having in the mind, understanding that 85% of them are negative and not even true. They're mostly false. And so as I practiced, I thought, you know what, it's really the practice of sitting with yourself. So it doesn't really matter what form, all the teachers, it's kind of like all the religions, I believe, take you to the same place of that, that richness that you're looking for. The same with the meditation practice. So in my experience, I thought what I have to share the most is my experience. I don't want to tell people what to do. I actually want to show them. I want to show them what the possibilities can be when you start to become, and I call this the boss of your own mind. When you start to become the person that understands that really it's the thoughts that I'm having that are causing my stress and my suffering and all of the things. Not that life isn't stressful and unmanageable out there so often, but that's not what's causing us the stress. It's how we're processing what's happening out there. It's
That's
what we're
true.
saying to ourselves.
That's true. That's true. It's how we're processing what's happening out there because a lot of things, especially I mean, you must see a lot of people during this pandemic. I mean, it's really good, especially for us in England, we were told to stay home, safe life, protect the NHS, which was very good. You know, people did this, but at the same time, a lot of people had to process life differently because you're now staying home. How do you challenge your mind from all your daily activity all of a sudden being told to stay home? And your book, which is one thing, and I read some chapters from it. One thing I like about it, it talks about, it gives simple tools for managing stress, finding inner peace, and uncovering your happiness. Um, in uncovering happiness, that's a total journey, and I think it's something that a lot of people are struggling with, especially when you look at life. Today you're happy, tomorrow you're absolutely, you're wondering what is wrong with me, why can't I find my joy, what is wrong with me. How do you encourage one, I mean, from your own journey of life, how do you encourage one to really dig in to find their own inner happiness, manage stress, and deal with all the things your book emphasizes?
So prac- the practice is actually practice. And so we need to practice um, not listening to those thoughts and understanding the thoughts are going to go. The mind is going to think. That's what the mind is best at doing, thinking. So, how can we actually have more control and more discernment in what thoughts we are thinking? Because when we can start to let the mind think and not believe what it's saying, because in every aspect of our life, there is the unmanageable stress and all of the things that happened, especially during the pandemic. But there's also joy, there's also love, there's also beauty. We live in a dualistic society where we have both. So
Yes.
it's not so much how do I get rid of the stress or get rid of all the things out there, the pandemic, all the things that are causing me all of this suffering and turmoil, but how can I learn to, okay, life is difficult right now. I woke up every morning during the pandemic, I quarantined by myself with my dog, and I wake up and I'd say, okay, we're doing this another day. I don't, and the thoughts would say, Barb, I don't know if you can do this another day. So that's what the mind does. So if I believe that, what would have happened? I would have spiraled down into, oh my gosh, we got to change this. We got to fix this. Let me watch the news. Let me see what they're doing. And instead, I thought, no, I can do this one more day. I can do this one more day. So it's really choosing how do we redirect our energy and our discernment and choosing the thoughts that are going to serve us. So that's why I call uncovering happiness. Most of our unhappiness is caused by wanting to be there or wanting something else to be happening here instead of being okay with what's happening in the now.
Oh my goodness,
So that
amazing.
the
Oh,
happiness is there. Let's just tap into it. And so I would walk my dog and see a beautiful flower, or I would see I happen to live near the water, so I could walk down there by the water. And I say, "Hmm, what a beautiful day, keeping that something beautiful in my mind as it starts to get agitated throughout the day.
oh my, yeah, that is truly amazing. That is really true. A lot of people's, and when you speak to people, a lot of them are, our minds are always wandering. So it's almost like pulling your mind back to where we are now and appreciating this moment, even our conversation, appreciating that we're having this conversation. You're based in USA, I'm based in United Kingdom. We're having that connection and appreciating it and taking things back from this conversation. And a lot of people, we do things, we want to rush that process rather than just enjoy it and absorb it because those leave great lasting memories in our head. So,
Yes. Oh my gosh. Because it's the ordinary moments. We're having a conversation, but this is the most joyful
mm,
moment of my day.
yes,
And so the
absolutely.
ordinary moments, this, as you said, you're in the UK, I'm in the United States, and what a miracle this is that I get to spend this time with you. So it's really
Absolutely.
appreciated.
And likewise. And I saw on your Facebook page, on the logo page, you have this thing, truth is the basis of all healing. Can you explain further why that word means so much to you?
Yes. Well, as I said, I went into treatment for bulimia and I had no clue. I mean, I knew that I had endured a lot of things in life, but I didn't understand I just thought you could just stuff it down and push it down and push it down. And it didn't really matter. And I could start, okay, I wake up in the morning and say, okay, I'm going to live okay today. And it didn't dawn on me that all of the things that were being stored up inside of my body and inside of my mind and just inside of me was causing me pain and suffering, but also causing me illness. And mostly that illness that I felt like I couldn't go on, or this is too hard, or all of those things that we say to ourselves. So it's took all of my power away.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I realized in treatment, and as I've been practicing all these years, that the more we can be truthful with ourselves, the more we can honor our emotions. The Latin word for emotion is emovere, to move out. And I really realized that all my emotions want is to be heard, is to be acknowledged, is to be felt, is to be seen, just like we as human beings want.
Yeah.
So when I started acknowledging if someone hurt my feelings, instead of writing a story about it and stuffing it down, I would just say, wow, my feelings just got hurt. I wonder how I feel about that. So I talk to myself a lot, and I kind of look at myself in the third person because I don't want to take on the energy of I'm angry. I'll say to myself, oh, Barb is angry right now. I wonder what's causing this anger, and get very curious. So I think that idea of being so truthful, unapologetically raw and truthful with yourself and how you feel.
Yeah.
There's something about that healing that takes place in the moment where you're not judging, you're not putting it off on other people, you're not putting it out there in the world. You're actually just sitting there with yourself with it. And there's something that happens in that chemistry of doing that that makes it all okay. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm feeling X, Y, or Z, or whatever it is.
Mm.
And the healing can take place in that moment. And then, of course, the long term traumatic healing all has to take with the uncovering of the truth of what's happening for you and who you are and being okay in that moment.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Our conversation today is one of the things is the power of the mind. I think you talk so much about the mind. I think you've you really dig deep into the mind, and it just coincides with such a awful year that this year has been, and that has really, especially going back to work. So people want to go back to work, but with the mind, they have to ask themselves the question: I'm so used to my thing. How do I get myself readjusted to getting back to changing my mindset to saying it's okay to go back to work? It's okay. In your what in your practice and things you talk about, how would you say to someone who's really anxious about doing something to find it in themselves, to tune themselves to go about to doing that role they're called in?
It's such a beautiful question because it really goes back to what kind of a relationship do you have with yourself? Can you trust yourself? Can you ask yourself the question? All the time I'll say, Barb, what do you want to say yes to this particular thing? What are you feeling right now? So can you ask yourself? So I would recommend that you just, even if it's hard and you've never done it before, just start little by little to just sit with yourself in quiet just for a second and ask yourself questions. What do I really want right now? Pandemic is still scary. Now we're in a little bit of a second wave and everything here in the United States. What do I want? What would make me feel safe? What would make me feel like, okay, yes, this would bring me some happiness and some joy in the moment. I can do this. Let me set some boundaries. Let me put some parameters around it. Let me look at how it could look and through my own eyes and through my own vision of what I could create for myself.
Mm.
And not thinking so much about what's happening out there first, but just getting in touch with what it is that you want, what would make you happy and comfortable and safe in the moment, and then start to take maybe one baby step toward that. Okay, I could do this, or I could go research that. Let me see if this is the right thing. Let me see if this job is right for me. I think we sometimes forget that we can take a pause. We can actually ask ourselves the questions and listen for the answers that are already there that give us a whole lot more clarity instead of asking other people out there who really have never been where we're going, because we're our own unique beings. So I would just say that it might be hard at first because if you're not used to it, but I promise you, you'll start to get the hit in the stomach. Like if you ask a question and you start to feel a pain in your neck, or you start to feel your stomach rumble, or you're starting to tighten up in your heart, instead of just ignoring it, like pause for a second. Wow, I just felt my heart start racing. What did I just ask myself that caused my heart to start racing? Because the body never lies. I think it's telling us the answer all the time, but
Yeah.
we're moving so fast. We're not. Oh, okay. My neck hurts right now. Oh, I must have slept on it wrong. No, maybe, or my throat. My throat. This is a big one for me because I was so afraid to use my voice. And so this is a big
Yes.
one for me.
Yeah.
I'd start to swallow or I'd not be able to. And I think, oh, I must have slept with my mouth open or I must have allergies. Or we make up all these stories when actually, no, Barb, I think you're afraid to speak up in this moment. What are you afraid of?
Mm,
Yeah. So that's the idea of also that truth being the base of healing. As you start to unravel that, these things don't then live in your body. They have a place
absolutely.
to go.
Yeah, like Barbara, I really agree because it is true. Sometimes it even happens to me, even to find my own voice can be a bit struggle, but a struggle. But I always find, and what is making you so nervous about doing this? You need to find that inner strength and believe you can do it. And I love what you just said. And sometimes we ask so many people questions. We go to so many people, but they're not walking on that journey with us. Yeah, at the end of the day, that journey will just be done by us alone, that individual alone. So you have to, at the end of the day, make that decision. So I love when you said that you have to answer that question. And this leads me to my question. You founded the Peaceful Mind, Peaceful Life, a platform with an mission to help people find inner peace and bring mindfulness teaching to the global community. What was I know that was your mission, but what was really your true mission in terms of helping the global community understand a better way to do this? Because not only has you founded this has been extremely successful. You have over 8 million people globally already using this platform. So why did you do it and how did you actually make it so successful that it's reaching so many people globally?
I think through my own experience, I realized as I came out of treatment and every year started discovering and discovering and discovering my own potentials, my own life,
Mm,
having such a beautiful relationship with myself. But I want to say nothing is easy. This is not easy. Life is not easy. It's difficult. So it's being okay with what's happening every moment and keep on going. And so when I realized the person that I am today,
yeah.
and as opposed to the person that I was as a little girl, as a teenager, as a young adult, so scared, so at the mercy of the outside world, the thought that the transformation could happen for me, I remember saying to myself, if I can do this, anyone can do this. And this is what all the great meditation teachers say. It's nothing magical about it. The magic happens just when you start to do that. And I think for me, it's been the most joy that I've ever experienced in my life is the relationship that I have with me. I'm a friend of myself. I do call myself a mind expert because my mind is my greatest friend and ally. It's not my worst enemy anymore. So as I thought of how far I had come, and so many people, friends and people, I am really affiliated here with the local university. Barb, could you start teaching some of this? Could you start doing some of this? I thought to myself, this is for me, this is what I think is the thing missing in our world for people to feel the contentment or the happiness is to be able to handle all of the uncovered um, stress and the things that are happening out there and the feelings that they might be having deep inside. And if I could help people start to see that they've got everything they need, and
Yes.
that if they actually just start this practice and start this process, it will turn into the life of your dreams. It'll turn into what you could never imagine for yourself. And then my deepest desire is always that we find harmony, um, social justice, all the things in the world. So I feel like one person at a time, one person awakens to the truth of who they are and the love of all of us. It'll one day we'll have the whole world doing that. So that was my dream. That was my vision. Um,
And
and
it
it's
worked. It
yeah,
worked because you have a global following. People are all utilizing this toolbox, and you are really making it work. So I love that. And in your journey of finding your own, finding who Barb is, what tools would you recommend for taking care of a person's own mental and physical health? What toolbox would you recommend?
so beautiful question. I think the first thing is understanding that life is difficult. It's unpredictable, it's stressful, it's all of those things. And when I realized that in the moment in 1984, because I thought meditation and all the things, success, happiness, all the money, all the things would make life less stressful, would make life less difficult. I thought somehow that outside world was magically going to change. So I think the first thing is understanding that there's nothing wrong with you and you don't need to fix you, and you don't need to fix you so the outside world will be fixed so that you can actually live your life. All that has to happen is for you to open up to the possibility of what kind of relationship you have with yourself and starting to love and trust and accept yourself completely. So the first tool would be to just sit in quiet like that for a minute or two every day. Maybe before you get out of bed, instead of hopping out of bed, touching the phone or checking the phone or everything, just when you open your eyes in the morning, just close them again and take some deep breaths while you're lying down in bed, and maybe offer a gratitude. I open my eyes every morning, close them again, and I just say thank you for the gift of this new day. You know, I open my eyes. Some people didn't wake up this morning. My first husband went to sleep in 2007 and didn't wake up in the morning. So it really has impacted my strategy or my thoughts of how can I help people understand so deeply that life is precious
Wow.
and that waking up is a gift. And I believe strongly how you start the day sets the tone for the whole day. So imagine waking up feeling grateful for that one thing instead of waking up, opening your eyes, jumping out of bed, saying to yourself, oh, I'm so behind. I'm so behind. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Oh my gosh, I have to deal with this person. Oh, I have to do that. Instead, just starting it with, I'm really grateful for whatever that is. It makes all the difference. All those little tweaks in becoming more understanding of what the mind is thinking and how powerful the mind is invaluable. It is everything. It has so much power, and you will start to realize that when you go through your day and you're feeling stressed, and all of a sudden that thing that you were grateful for happens to pop in your mind.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I woke up this morning. Let me take a deep breath and start again. So I would recommend that, how you start the day and how you end the day, and do the same thing at the end of the day. Instead of taking all the troubles to bed with you, make peace with it all. Just say, okay, the day's over. You can't change anything anyway. You're going to sleep. Just take a deep breath.
I love that, because another thing I listened, and someone told me, what you said was one of them. The second one, they said, just be grateful that you can actually eat food, that you can actually eat, because some people, because I had a chronic illness, and sometimes when I'm in hospital, I lose total appetite. I can't eat for weeks on the weeks, and then I'm having to have IV fluid put into me. And really sat with me, that actually the gift of being able to taste and enjoy food is an amazing gift. And when she said that to me, I was like, wow, I never thought of it that way. To have the gift of just what exactly what you said, and also the gift of just being able to eat, that you can actually taste the food you're eating it and just enjoy your meal. I thought, wow. Then I started looking at life so differently. I started appreciating life a lot more than I would otherwise would. I've normally, you wake up, even if I'm trying to have a bad morning, I was like, no, not me today. This is a pain-free day for Anne, and it's going to be like that the whole day. So I love how you really said that. Um, one thing I love about you is that you just don't do this work. You didn't do the platform you created. You also mentor so many kids. You offer mentorship to other younger, especially younger generation. And you said you want to mentor the next generation of leaders. And it's very rare that many people come out today and say, look, I want to mentor, because that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of, it takes a lot of your patience to want to sit with people and give them, transfer that skills. But what people tend to forget is that by mentoring people, you're living a better world out there. You're living your legacy onto the next person and creating an even better world. What leadership skills do you think is needed for this next generation of youths coming up today?
Beautiful. I have to always keep going back to the greatest thing needed is that they can trust themselves and accept themselves and love themselves, and actually understanding that, because there's so much stress. I love working with this generation of kids because they are so passionate. And I'm a product of the 60s, so I grew up with all of the racial unrest, the social unrest in Chicago. If you know the United States, in Chicago, no. So it was a part of me, a part of the inner workings of me as a very young girl. And so now as an adult, fast forward and all of the things that I have learned, these kids are so smart and they have so many tools at their disposal in the outside world. I mean, social media, all of the things that are happening for them, but they're also feeling so much pressure. So the thing that I believe that I'm helping them with the most is how to manage that stress, how to manage that pressure, how to be strong enough to use their voice when they feel something deeply, instead of burying it, instead of saying, oh, they're going to think that I'm stupid, or no one's going to listen to me, or I'm not old enough for them, all those things that the mind is saying. So I think the greatest thing that our next generation of leaders needs is to have that sense of, I've got this. I know what it is that I want. Let me start honing the skills that give me the confidence, the security, the presence of mind, the words that I need to use. Let me really start understanding what I want, what do I need to do to get there, and how is the best way for me to present myself into the world, into the families, into whatever it is that I'm trying to do in the best way possible. And that's having that deep connection with yourself, understanding yourself, and never abandoning yourself for anything in the outside world. So I think if you ask any of the kids, this will be our 4th year, and last year was totally virtual because of the pandemic. So we never met any of these kids in person. It was amazing. I think if you ask any of them, they will all say the testimonials have been so heartwarming. They will all say, you gave me the tools to be able to get clear on what I need, to practice some discernment on how to get there and what I need to do, to help me be true to myself always, to not try to put myself down or abandon myself or people please with other people thinking they're better than I am or thinking that they're smarter than I am, and to truly understand that there's always something beautiful. Love is there, beauty is there, happiness is there. And so really it's directing my attention instead of going down that rabbit hole when the mind starts getting hold of us. So those are the things that they've shared with me that I think have impacted them the most. Now they can go out and be the doctor or the lawyer or the community organizer or the mayor or whatever it is that's in their deepest desire. And then finally, I would say the greatest thing is they said what they wanted for their lives. So many adults have told them they can't have it, or they can't get it, or they're not smart enough, or they can't get there. They really have embraced what they want and stayed true to that and have the courage now to stand up to their parents or stand up to the teachers or stand up to their peers, and not lose sight of, the preciousness that is who they are and the life that they came here to live.
And so many people get lost in that moment that because society is always bad. It's almost like society's built a toolbox for everyone and saying you must do this, you must be that. And if you're not following those two boxes, it's almost you don't exist. So I'm so glad you do this because many young kids need that. They just need that words and saying to that positiveness that says you can do it. You just have to believe in yourself more and just work hard towards your goal. So I'm so glad. But your deepest desire is that people love, accept, and trust themselves completely. I think this is one of the things you talk about. Even if I've watched a few of your videos on Facebook, you're really passionate about that people love them and love themselves completely, knowing that this inner confidence and strength will lead to peace, a world of peace and love. How can we, as individuals, like any individual, youth, old, anyone, help achieve a world like this? Your dream world.
Yes. It starts with us. It all begins with us. And I love what you just said about the kids. It's so true. And that's why I always come back to they have all the tools available to them in the outside world for learning about whatever it is that makes them happy or learning about whatever it is that they want to be successful. They don't need me to tell them what books to go read about being a banker or whatever it is that they want to be. And so what's lacking, I think, is learning about how do we really create the most incredible human being that we already are. And I think that's the key. And that's the whole thing for finding, when I say peace, I mean power. Certainly, I mean peace where we have harmony and we respect and love all humanity in that. But I also mean power. When you feel empowered, when you feel strong in your own skin, and I'm not saying you always feel this way. I'm saying that at the depths of your core, you know you've got it. but you might be feeling anxious some days. Of course, we're human beings. And so I tell everyone, we're extraordinary human beings meant to live the life that we came here to live. So when you get that at the core of your being, then that's going to produce the harmony and the humanity of all beings being created equal, and the love that I see that is there for everyone. It just gets so confusing and so covered up with all of the other things that are happening in the outside world, trying to gain power over someone, or trying to think that there's not enough for everyone. So I've got to go out and get my share because, there's not enough to go around. So there's jealousy and competition and all of the things. So I think if you love and accept and trust yourself completely, you're going to have, certainly doubt comes in, all the things, fear, anger, all those things come in. But at the end of the day, you're able to say, wait, there is enough for everyone. If I stay in my lane and do what's right in this moment for myself, and really accept that I have to say no in this moment to this dear friend of mine that's asking me to do something. And I use that because that's the most biggest example everyone says to me, Barb, how do I say no? And so if you love and accept and trust yourself completely, you feel comfortable in your own skin saying no, doing the things that will be in alignment with who you are at your core and take you ultimately to where you want to be.
Yes. I have to ask you a final question before I let you go. Advice for meditation, healing, to help healing from pain. We all go through pain. I mean, one of my focus is dealing with pain around the world. But I always think there are ways of dealing with pain, especially if someone has recently got divorced and just not knowing clearly how to navigate that pain. He's lost his job, he's, something, just something. And he's at work, he's had a bad day at work, the boss is being mean to him. What is your top advice for helping someone meditate and heal from their pain?
You're right. We all feel a sense of pain in all different forms in the body. And pain is always felt in the body, even if it's not a disease that we have, or even if it's not something that we're suffering from. So you feel the pain, you can feel it in your heart. I went through a terrible breakup over the past couple of years, and during the pandemic, being by myself with my dog, I could feel the heartache. So you feel the pain. And I think the greatest advice I can give someone is to first, when I say trust and love and accept yourself completely, allow yourself to feel the pain. Like, talk to yourself. I'm feeling really heartbroken right now, or I'm feeling very sad right now, or whatever that is, or I'm feeling very scared with this pandemic. I'm so scared that my loved one's going to get sick or something is going to happen. Just acknowledging that you're feeling that pain or the sadness or the sorrow, whatever that is. And then trying to identify where it is in your body. I know when I think about the heartbreak, I always could feel the heaviness, like it just felt really heavy. And I'd even say to myself, I had trouble breathing. I could barely, breathe. So just acknowledging all that, I believe that 90% of everything that we go through is having the awareness to accept it and not try to deny it, not try to pass it off onto something else or someone else, not trying to let guilt or shame or anger, not allowing all those things to come in yet. They will come in. We go through all that whole gamut of feelings and all of that. But just in the moment, being with yourself and being okay with it. And then that's hard. That is really hard if you're not used to it. Then having another friend, having another person that you trust, that is dear to you as you are to yourself, having that friend that will sit with you or listen to you or talk with you, that won't abandon you, that won't tell you what to do, that will help you move through it all, and that they can, at the end of the day, they'll say, you know what, this is hard right now and you're going to move through this. Having that cheerleader, having that other person, if it's not a person belonging to a group or a community. I always say my three things: find your practice and practice it, which would be sitting. And that's what meditation is. Just sitting and allowing yourself to feel the pain and naming it is meditation. And then find your teacher, or find your books, or find the things, the movies, the books, that all of those things that inspire you, that help you learn, help you grow, help you become that greatest version of you. And then find your community. And that could be one friend, it could be a therapist, it could be a teacher, it could be a priest, it could be a rabbi, it could be whatever that person is. But find your community and enter it. Be that, and then be that community for others. So it's not easy. Life is not easy. I'm going to say it again. It's not easy, but I'm going to say this to everyone. There is no more worthwhile journey than discovering who you are, what you want, and being so in alignment with your own self, with your own glory. We are so magnificent, and it brings me so much joy to be able to sit here and talk with you and say these things, because I was not a person that could say any of those things before the age of 30.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's a beautiful life of transformation that is very worthwhile. Very
Well,
worth.
thank you so much. I really appreciated talking to you because I learned so much myself just having this conversation with you about the practice, about what we need to do, about appreciating the moment, being grateful for being alive, and there's just so much little things we touched on today, which I'm so grateful, and I'm so grateful for your time. I really appreciate this. Thank you so much, Barb, for your time.
It's been a joy and a pleasure for me. I've loved meeting you, and I can't wait to see you in person one day.
Absolutely, same here. Thank you.